the burden of the branch. Have you ever truly known silence? Not the quiet between words, or the hush of a sleeping city. I mean a silence so absolute, so profound, it feels like the universe holding its breath. It is the sound of the end of all things, and the beginning of everything else. It is the only sound here, where I sit, and it is the canvas upon which I have learned to hear the music of existence. My name, for those who still remember it, is Loki. Perhaps you knew me by other titles: Prince of Asgard, God of Mischief, rightful King of Jotunheim, villain, even, for a fleeting, desperate moment, a hero. They were all masks. Costumes I wore on a stage I never realized was built for me, with a script I never knew I was following. I played my part with such conviction, such theatrical flair. I craved the throne, you see. I believed it was my birthright, the grand prize at the end of my performance. I saw the adulation, the power, the weight of a crown, and I thought, that is what will make me whole. That will finally fill this hollow space inside me, this gnawing feeling that I was nothing more than a shadow cast by my brother's brilliant golden light. He was the Sunday simple, predictable, radiating warmth and strength, and I was the clever, creeping frost. I found the cracks, the weaknesses. I reveled in the chaos I could sow with a single, well-placed word. Mischief, I called it. A grand game. But it wasn't a game, it was a scream. A desperate, unending scream for attention, for validation. Look at me, see me. See that I am more than just the second son, the adopted monster, the footnote in the grand saga of Thor Odinson. I wanted my own saga. I would burn down the universe just to write the first chapter in the embers. My mother, Frigga, she understood. She saw the magic in me, not as a tool for trickery, but as an extension of my very being. She taught me to weave illusions, to bend reality to my will. But I only ever learned half the lesson. I saw the power in the illusion, but not the truth behind it. The truth is, every illusion, every story is born from a kernel of want, a desire for something to be different. I wanted to be Odin's true son. I wanted to be Thor's equal. I wanted to be loved not for who I was pretending to be, but for the tangled, broken thing I actually was. But I never knew how to ask. So I lied instead. I lied to my family, to my enemies, to myself. My entire life became the grandest illusion of all. And I, its most dedicated, most tragic performer. I saw my death. I saw it played out for me on a tiny screen in a place beyond time. A pathetic, desperate lunge at a tyrant. My final words choked out in a futile act of defiance. And my first thought, my gut-wrenching, honest-to-the-bones first thought, was not of the pain or the fear. It was disappointment. Is that it? Is that the grand finale to the story of Loki? A failed assassination, a footnote in someone else's heroic journey. All that ambition, all that rage and fire, extinguished with a whimper to save the brother I'd spent a millennium trying to supplant. It was undignified. It was pathetic. It was not the story I would have written for myself. And that was the moment the illusion shattered. The moment I realized I had never written a single word. I wasn't the author. I wasn't even the lead actor. I was a puppet, and my strings were woven into the very fabric of time itself, pulled by unseen masters to ensure one single sacred story played out exactly as written. My glorious purpose was never my own. It was a line in the script, a motivation assigned to a character to push the plot forward. The bitter irony was so potent, it was almost poetic. The god of mischief, the master of chaos, was nothing more than an agent of absolute, unyielding order. The choice then became simple. Do I return to the play, knowing the ending, or do I burn the script, tear down the stage, and see what happens when the actors are finally allowed to improvise? I chose to burn it all. And in the ashes, I found something far more terrifying and far more beautiful than a crown. I found infinity. At first, it was a cacophony, a screaming, branching, chaotic storm of possibility. Every choice, every decision, from a king deciding to go to war to a child deciding to pick a flower, created a new reality, a new timeline, a new universe. They were threads, fragile and brilliant, splitting and weaving away from the main tapestry. The masters of the old story, the timekeepers, they saw this as chaos, an infection. Their solution was to prune, to cauterize, to cut away any story that didn't match their approved narrative. They built a machine, a loom, to weave all of existence into a single, manageable thread. A gilded cage they called the sacred timeline. But when their loom began to fail, when the branches began to grow wild and overwhelm the system, I saw it for what it truly was. It wasn't an infection, it was life. It was free will in its purest, most untamed form. It was messy and contradictory and often tragic. It was beautiful. It was a forest, not a thread. A living, breathing forest of stories, each one sacred in its own right. A universe where a version of me became an alligator. A universe where I successfully took the throne and ruled a silent, lonely kingdom of ash. A universe where my brother and I grew old together, laughing on the shores of a rebuilt Asgard. All of it, every single possibility, was real. And it was all dying. The loom couldn't handle the sheer, explosive growth of freedom. It was a system built to contain, and it was being shattered by the force of creation. It would overload, explode, and take all of reality with it. All the stories would end, forever. There was a choice, a terrible, impossible choice. We could destroy the branches, restore the single gilded cage, and live as puppets in a predictable story. Or we could let it all be destroyed, taking our freedom with us into oblivion. He who remains, the architect of the cage, he offered me this choice: rule in his stead, become the new master of the puppet theater. He thought he was offering me the very thing I'd always craved, a throne at the end of all things, the ultimate power. He looked at me and saw the old Loki, the ambitious, selfish prince who would burn worlds for a crown. He couldn't see that I had looked into the heart of infinity and it had changed me. How could I condemn all of existence to a pre-written story, knowing what I now knew? How could I be the one to prune the branch where a mother reads her child a bedtime story that was never meant to be? Or snip the thread where two lovers meet by chance in a cafe, a meeting deemed unnecessary to the grand design? My glorious purpose. I had been chasing it my whole life. I thought it was a throne. I thought it was subjugation, being seen, being feared, being knelt to. I stood there at the precipice of non-existence with the fate of every single story in my hands, and I finally understood. My glorious purpose was never about a crown. It was never about ruling. It was about letting others live. It was about ensuring that they had the freedom to write their own stories, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant they might seem in the grand cosmic scheme. It was for my brother, so he could find love and forge a new path. It was for the people of Asgard, so they could build a new home. It was for Mobius, so he could see what it's like to ride a jet ski, a simple, beautiful, ridiculous dream in a universe of possibilities. It was for Sylvie, a version of me who had her entire story stolen from her before it even began. It was for her, more than anyone, to give her, and everyone else, the one thing I was always denied: a choice. The loom was failing because it was trying to weave dead threads. It needed a life force. It needed a consciousness to hold it all together, to sit at the center and allow the forest to grow. Not to control it, not to prune it, but to nurture it. To become the living heart of the multiverse. So I walked towards it, towards the storm of temporal radiation that would unmake any mortal being. And with every step, I let go. I let go of the prince. I let go of the villain. I let go of the anger, the envy, the gnawing, desperate need to be seen. I wove my own magic, not of illusion, but of life. I reached out and took the dying threads, the infinite stories, into my own hands. I pulled them together, not into a single rope, but into a tree, a great cosmic Yggdrasil of infinite, branching realities. And I took my place, not a throne of cold, dead gold, but a throne of living stories. I am the trunk of that tree now. I am the anchor. I am the God at the center of everything, holding it all together. I am no longer the god of mischief. That story has ended. I am the god of stories, and I am utterly, completely, and eternally alone. I can see everything, every beginning, every end. I watch lovers meet and I watch stars die. I see heroes rise and fall. I see insignificant moments of profound kindness and cataclysmic acts of terrible cruelty. I hear every prayer, every curse, every laugh, every tear. It is a constant, silent hum of a billion heartbeats, a symphony of infinite lives playing out all at once. It is the most beautiful thing I have ever known, and I cannot interfere. I am the keeper of the forest, not its gardener. My only role is to hold it all together, to give them the one thing I now value above all else, the chance to choose, the chance to be glorious, or disastrous, or quiet, or loud, the chance to be free. The silence here is no longer empty. It is filled with the weight of all their stories. It is the burden I chose, to sit, to watch, to hold, to ensure that somewhere in the infinite branching chaos, a brother can tell his sibling he loves him. A daughter can forgive her father. A friend can take a leap of faith. My story is over. It had to be, so that all of theirs could begin. So if you are hearing this, if my voice is somehow reaching you across the branches of time, know this. Your life is not a script. You are not a puppet. Your choices, every single one of them, they matter. They create worlds. They are real. Live your story. Make it messy. Make it glorious. Make it yours. Someone is listening.